And let's make sure everybody gets in here. Okay. All right. So student book. Wait a minute, we're not on this. Yeah, student book. Unit 2, lesson 5, identify faulty evidence. So we just looked at evaluating evidence from sources, finding bias and things like that. So now we're digging a little deeper into that idea. And these will be good skills to have that'll help support what we just did in social studies. So what we're going to do here, by the time we complete this lesson, we'll be able to identify claims supported by faulty evidence and identify arguments that are not logical. And there's going to be a table coming up here that's going to explain this quite a bit and give us some help here. So let's listen to our audio first.
It is important to review arguments to identify claims supported by faulty reasoning or evidence. Faulty reasoning involves arguments that are not logical. Faulty evidence may involve inaccurate, insufficient, or irrelevant information, or appeal to readers' emotions to support a claim. For example, authors may try to make readers feel afraid, or to feel as though they belong to, or are superior to, a particular group.
Right, so sort of hitting this from a different angle than what we've seen, right? So we've talked about faulty reasoning and evidence, faulty logic. Logic and reasoning sort of go hand in hand. You can almost sort of use one for the other in these situations. So let's take a look here. The table is going to really help explain this a lot. So we're looking at this from the point of view of gluten, which still today, even like 7-8 years ago when this was written, was a hot topic, and you still hear quite a bit about it. So gluten's a protein found in wheat flour. Examples in this table are intended to support the claim that avoiding gluten increases energy and weight loss. So our table, right, it shows our faulty reasoning, an explanation, and an example, and faulty evidence underneath. So it's like a table separated by two sort of different ideas, right? Reasoning at the top, evidence at the bottom. So examples, explanation, and the type of evidence or reasoning that we're involved in. So the text says a generalization with too little information is faulty reasoning. For example, 3 friends have gone gluten-free and they feel great. Going gluten-free improves your health, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that it was because they gave up gluten. And then second, authors also may try to make readers feel patriotic. This emotional appeal is part of a bandwagon appeal. So we'll read through here and you'll see what those mean. So faulty reasoning, right? An inaccurate cause and effect. So suggesting that events have a cause and effect relationship between the events occur together. After I removed gluten from my diet, I lost weight. That doesn't necessarily mean because you remove gluten that you lost weight. Removing gluten also means you remove a lot of carbs. So that could actually be the reason you lost weight, not because you removed the gluten. That political cartoon we saw yesterday with the judge, the Mississippi judge standing over the U.S. Marshal that was all beaten and battered, that was inaccurate cause and effect. Right, that political cartoon was pointing out, it's like because the U.S. Marshal showed up, made the rioters violent. That's inaccurate cause and effect. So second, irrelevant information. So you provide evidence that does not relate to the claim. So here it says 1 in 100 people cannot digest gluten. Like them, you could gain energy by eating gluten-free foods. That doesn't line up. Right, there's specific sort of like celiac disease, right? That people that can't ingest gluten, they have a difficulty with gluten. that doesn't mean that they are, have better energy and are losing weight. Those two things are not related. Gluten is not, unhealthy for you, which is sort of trying to manipulate the data to show that here. And then the final faulty reasoning, inaccurate either or statement. So sort of like cause and effect, there's a either or. So it says suggesting there are only two options or viewpoints when there are more. So making it a binary. There's either option A or option B, either or. So their example, if you want to have more energy, you must remove gluten from your diet, right? What if you just maybe need another hour or two of sleep, right? Maybe you're not getting enough sleep. Maybe there's other things in your diet that's, causing you not to have much energy. Maybe you just don't have an overall well-balanced diet, because gluten is part of a well-balanced diet most of the time. So, either or statement, I'm either, going to remove gluten from my diet, or I'm going to be miserable for the rest of my life and continue to gain weight. That is faulty reasoning, right? It does not line up. Faulty evidence. Okay, this is something else to look for, and this really goes with our last lesson that we just had in social studies. So, and we've talked kind of around these ideas, not necessarily using these terms. So bandwagon appeal. So that's the explanation here is arguing in favor of an idea because the idea is popular. So the example they say, join the thousands of people who have found better health gluten-free. Right, that's a very, you see that in a lot of advertisement. All of these actually you'll see in advertising, the bandwagon idea. So everybody's doing it, you should too. That kind of idea, join the bandwagon. And then scare tactics, so exaggerating a danger or using threatening language. Do you want to be condemned to a future of obesity and disease? Just keep eating gluten and that's what's going to happen to you. Real strong language that's, trying to get you to, that persuasive tactic by scaring you. Again, look at political campaigns, look at these Senate races and things. You'll see that kind of idea. Do you want to, your neighborhood to be destroyed and things like that, whatever it may be. They try to evoke fear that way. And then finally, testimonial. Supporting an idea by featuring the endorsement of a celebrity. That celebrity doesn't have to be an expert, right? And their example here is performer Miley Cyrus believes the benefits of going gluten-free. So let's all be like Miley Cyrus and adopt a gluten-free diet. That's also really prevalent in advertising, right? No matter what it is, you see celebrity endorsements. There's an old one, I forget. I think it was an actor who was on like one of the daytime soap operas, and it became sort of like a meme before memes. But he had this line in the commercial. It's like, I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV. Like that makes him any more of an expert, right? I think it was for like a cough syrup or something, maybe. I don't remember what the product was, but it's silly, right? It's just because there's a celebrity involved does not make it any more beneficial. So let's take a look here at the quiz. So keep those things in mind. I'm going to see if I can get a copy of that, and I'll post that to Google Classroom too, because that's really good information to keep with you. So on to the quiz. There is our table again, faulty reasoning, faulty evidence. And it says, so some authors exhibit bias. They write about only one side of an issue or ignore information that contradicts their claims. Biased arguments are unreliable. So are arguments without enough support. I think I've mentioned this before in history. We call it cherry picking. So if I was to write, a paper, an article, dissertation, and I only use the evidence that supports the claim, and I don't, I don't acknowledge that there is other evidence out there that does not support the claim, that's considered cherry picking. It's very biased, and it's not a complete argument, right? So let's take a look at number one here. Etta, could you read number one?
Sorry.
Okay. Let me get back to it. It says, why is the fact that 1 in 100 people cannot digest gluten irrelevant to the claim that gluten-free food increases energy? A, the fact inaccurately suggests that an either or situation. B, the fact is intended to persuade readers to give up gluten because many people have removed gluten from their diet. C, the fact is stated in strong language intended to frighten. Or D, the fact does not give any indication of the likely effects of gluten on an individual with his or her own health needs. Is it D?
It's D is in dog. The
Yeah.
act does not give any indication, right? Those things are not related. Just because 1 in 100 people cannot digest gluten, that's irrelevant to the idea of whether or not removing it from your diet is going to give you lots of energy and help you lose weight. That you would have to have a whole study about the people that can't digest gluten and see what their energy levels are like and see how they lose weight. Those things are absolutely not related at all. So D is a dog. And then we have a short passage here. Give to the Dudley Memorial Shelter. Can I get Grace? Grace, could you read that for us?
Okay. When animal rescue officers found Lady, the tiny paddle mix was dirty, crowny, and trembling with fear. Rescuers estimated that she had been cruelly abandoned in the empty house for at least a week. Can you imagine what it must feel like to find yourself in a strange place without food or water, completely alone? No creature should have to go through what Lady went through. And thanks to the care of the dedicated staff at the Dudley Memorial Animal Shelter, Lady is on the road to recovery. But without your financial support, other animals will not be so lucky. Please consider a donation to save an animal in need. Celebrities such as singer Sarah McLachlan. Please come again.
It's Sarah McLachlan.
Oh, okay. It's too huge. Singer Sarah M. have long been heroes for animal rights and our own hero. Damien Ferry says supporting helpless animals has given me as much personal satisfaction as it has helped save abused and abandoned animals. You too can make difference for animals in need by donating to support our care, outreach, and education efforts. And you can rest assured that 80 cents of every dollar you donate will go directly to the care of the animal in our charge or to community actions to promote animal welfare. According to the American Pet Products Association, approximately 62% of American households own pets. Show the animals in your life that you care by contributing to the Dudley Memorial Animal Shelter through the generosity of so many.
Wait, did I lose you there?
Hello?
Yeah. Were you, did you finish? Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. Drag drop.
Okay.
Wow.
That's okay. So yeah, we'll So I just want to point out a couple things here. Yeah, so we're doing a drag and drop for this. Just to look.
Okay.
This
So
might
I couldn't finish it.
okay.
I don't know. A call came and then it just picked automatically. I didn't know that it has even picked. Wow. Oh, okay, so that drag and drop. Okay.
Okay.
Oh.
So I wanted to look here. So we have, you know, this probably would have been one of those instances where we might have wanted to scan down and look at the drag and drop options. But we're looking for irrelevant information, inaccurate, those either or statements. You're either doing this or you're either doing that. Bandwagon, appeal to sympathy, and testimonial. So what here is irrelevant information?
According to the American Pets Product Association, approximately 60% of American households own pets.
Right. That's not really relevant here. That's statistic doesn't really add up to what this is. And then inaccurate, either or. So what is either or statement here?
Either or situations. But without our financial support, or
Yeah, that's right. But without financial support, other animals would not be so lucky, right? That's an either or. Either you help us or all the animals die. You know, whatever it might be. It's that kind of idea, right? It's up to you to you know, see these animals are you know, given shelter and all that. So bandwagon appeal. What is bandwagon appeal look like here?
through the generosity, of so many people.
Yeah, just like you, right? People like you, through the generosity of people like you who care deeply about animals. You care deeply about animals, so able to help unfortunate creatures that cannot help themselves. And then appeal to sympathy. Where's an appeal?
Can
To
you?
Yeah, can you imagine what it feels like to find yourself in a strange place without food or water, completely alone? Okay, and of course that leaves our testimonial. So a celebrity, you know, testimonial. So Damien Ferry says, supporting helpless animals has given me as much personal satisfaction as it has helped save abused and abandoned animals. So that's the celebrity sort of endorsement there. You know, it's also irrelevant, right? Because that's not an expert. That's not somebody that's giving you statistics or anything. That's just a celebrity. So irrelevant should be according to the American Pet Products Association. The inaccurate statement is, but without your financial support, other animals will not be so lucky. The bandwagon appeal, through the generosity of so many people like you who care deeply about animals, we are able to help unfortunate creatures. Appeal to sympathy, right? Gives you something to sympathize with, makes you feel about the animals, right? We talked about appeal to emotion. This is the same thing. If you're appealing to sympathy, you're appealing to a particular emotion. And then testimonial. But this is all, you know, it's faulty. It's not really based on a lot of legitimate information. So that's the quiz. We had 2 questions there for the quiz, not much there at all. I also want to point out Sarah McLachlan. It's one of my wife's favorite artists, and I've mentioned her several times because she does these ads for SPCA. She's the one with that song "I Will Remember You," and it's playing in the background. It shows all the little animals; they're all sad, and it's that appeal to sympathy. But she's a big animal rights advocate. And they use her song in those commercials. So it's kind of funny that she keeps coming up here. Okay. So, okay. Just to take a look at the last question, I'm going to zoom out a little bit so we can get them all in the same frame there. So hopefully that helps. Okay. Before we move on. How we doing? We ready to move? We all good? All right, so let's go on to the quiz. I'm sorry, the workbook. And one was D. That's the only one to follow up on there. So again, to identify faulty reasoning, as you read persuasive text, consider several things, right? This is where you're going to find this a lot, in persuasive text. First, ask yourself whether the information is reliable and connects to the claim. Next, remember that although two events may happen one after the other, the first event does not necessarily cause the second, right? Faulty cause and effect. Also consider whether the author acknowledges other points of view and presents an accurate picture of the issue. Is it one-sided? Is it biased? To identify faulty evidence, consider whether the author relies only on emotion to support a claim, right? Appeals to sympathy, appeals to emotion. Ask yourself whether the author uses emotional language when facts and information would provide more effective support for a claim. So look for those, emotional language, look for strong language, look for them sort of, like in that last passage, painting a picture or asking you, how do you feel about this? In writing, you look for that type of language. We see it all the time in television. We see it in commercials. We see it when people are asking, to support a cause or something. They'll use visuals in place of language, but that language can do the same thing. Evoke emotion, evoke an appeal to emotion. And so a little more on gluten. So ignore the gluten-free fad. So looking at our title, we know that this is going to be something that sort of rebukes the fad towards going gluten-free. So let's see what it says here. Gluten is a protein found in wheat flour, but these days it seems as though gluten-free products are everywhere. Although some people do suffer from celiac disease and cannot eat foods containing gluten, there's no reason for others to change what they eat. Every year seems to bring a new diet to change your life, but the only changes are in your wallet. Most people have no problems digesting gluten and should not compromise their nutrition by giving up something that occurs naturally in many foods. Celebrities, always quick to jump on trends, have used social media to trumpet the benefits of going gluten-free. Now doctors and other experts are lining up against the musicians and movie stars. Would you rather join the ranks of those who form opinions on the basis of expert recommendations? The experts, by the way, agree that gluten-free diets are just a fad. If so, that may be the best thing about them. Fads go quickly out of style. And that's something also to consider with a celebrity endorsement. Typically, that celebrity is paid, to say those things, to make that endorsement. So there's, monetary motivation for them, money involved with them saying those things. So it says over here in our text box that the detail that new diets spring up every year is irrelevant, though, because other diets have no relevance to the effectiveness of gluten-free diets. So that's not a legitimate comparison, right? Just by saying, well, a new diet pops up every year. Yeah, I mean, the gluten-free diet is another sort of fad, but that's not really relevant to the point of why you should continue to eat gluten. Same thing with, any other, you can make a claim. It's like, well, let's try to think of another fad diet or something, but, you could just say it, just, there's another fad every year, but that doesn't mean that you should change what you're eating. Or it doesn't mean that one thing's healthy because it's part of a fad. We all always know vegetables are good for us, and having a low carbohydrate diet is pretty good for us. But let's see, it's not allowing you to drag the answers to the bottom. I think we had this problem before where if you could zoom out your screen, try that, Nilda, and you might be able to drag and drop a bit. I think Nakia was having that problem the other day. Try to zoom out a little bit and give yourself some space there. All right, and then so B, it says the author considers celebrity testimonials unreliable. However, there is no information from experts who think gluten-free diets are ineffective. So in that second part, yeah, you know, celebrities, you know, they're making endorsements, they're making money, but he doesn't, this person doesn't give specific information about, you know, what experts are saying. It just says doctors and other experts are lining up against them, but they don't really give specifics as to who or what they're actually saying. So wait, Etta, you had a problem too with that? So that's kind of weird.
But that's because I'm on my phone too, though.
Oh, okay.
So I can't scroll. Like the answer key is like all the way at the top, and where I gotta drag it to is all the way at the bottom. So like with me trying to take it from the top and drag it to the bottom, it won't let me like do both at the same time.
Yeah, I think Nakia, whatever touchscreen she was using, it might get too small for you. You know, that was, I think that was the solution for her last time though, is to resize it. But with those long drag and drop boxes, I can understand it gets so, you know, far down the screen that it might not let you drop it in there. Don't worry about it. You know, I've mentioned this before. You might get one wrong here and there. You know the right answers. You know what's supposed to go in those boxes.
There's only one answer left.
Yeah. So we don't sweat the small stuff. That's fine.
Okay.
Okay, and now we got like 10 drag and drop boxes. No, I'm just kidding. There's no drag and drop boxes on this one. So inside the items, it says most items on the test require to demonstrate at least 2 skills. So usually these are reading and critical thinking. For example, to answer question 1, you must understand the passage and you must evaluate its reliability. So yeah, think in terms of the test, right? So you're going to be posed with, you know, questions that have built on multiple skills. And usually with the reading, it's going to include, you know, comprehension, and it's going to include critical thinking skills. Okay, so let's look at question 1. How about Tracy? Can you read question 1 for us and answer?
Yes. Which statement best explains why the passage is not reliable? A, the author relies on testimonials from celebrities. B, the author used strong language to frighten readers. C, the author presents only one side of the argument. D, the author used the full cause and effect relationship. C.
Yeah, it's just saying, you know, what, there's no, you know, evidence to support it, that gluten-free is the way to go. Not really, you know, picking out any of the potential benefits or you know, really refuting it. It's very vague and it's one-sided. So C for number 1 and 2. Let's see, let's go to Sasha Gay. How about reading question 2 for us?
Which detail makes an appeal so our readers need to fit in? A, some people cannot eat foods containing gluten. B, we should not compromise our own nutrition by giving up something that occurs naturally in so many foods. And C, wouldn't you rather join the ranks of those who form opinions on the basis of expert recommendations? D, the experts agree that gluten-free diets are just a fad. Is it C?
Yeah, C, right? That's bandwagon, right? The appealed readers need to fit in. Wouldn't you rather join the ranks of those who have form opinions based on expert recommendations? So C for number 2. Oh boy. And now we have George Wallace. This might anger some of you. It certainly, he's just makes my skin crawl thinking about that this guy was ever held a state office. He was governor of Alabama. So this passage is an excerpt from the inaugural speech of George Wallace on his election as governor of Alabama in 1963. In the second part of the speech, Wallace responds to federal desegregation laws. Remember, we touched on this yesterday. George Wallace, that was later on in 64 after the passing of some of the civil rights legislation. I'm going to go ahead and read it, but this guy is just a jerk. So yeah, you might be able to tell what we're looking at here concerning the title, right? Segregation now, segregation forever. And this is from his inaugural address after he was elected as governor of Alabama in 1963. So here we go. I have said to you that I would eliminate the liquor agents in this state and that the money saved will be returned to our citizens. I am happy to report to you that the big willing cocktail party boys have gotten the word that their free whiskey and boat rides are over, that the farmer in the field, the worker in the factory, the businessman in his office, the housewife in her home have decided that the money can be better spent to help our children's education and our older citizens. And they have put a man in office to see that it is done. It shall be done. Let me say one more time, no more liquor drinking in your governor's mansion. Today I have stood where once Jefferson Davis stood and took an oath to my people. It is very appropriate that from this cradle of the Confederacy, this very heart of the great Anglo-Saxon Southland, that today we sound the drum for freedom as have our generations of forebears before us done, time and time again through history. Let us rise to the call of freedom-loving blood that is in us and send our answer to the tyranny that clanks its chains upon the South. In the name of the greatest people that have ever trod this earth, I draw the line in the dust and toss the gauntlet before the feet of tyranny. And I say segregation today, segregation tomorrow, segregation forever. The Washington, D.C. school riot report is disgusting and revealing. We will not sacrifice our children to any such type school system, and you can write that down. The federal troops in Mississippi could be better used guarding the safety of the citizens of Washington, D.C., where it is even unsafe to walk or to go to a ball game, and that is the nation's capital. I was safer in a B-29 bomber over Japan during the war in an air raid than the people of Washington are walking to the White House neighborhood. Yeah, George Wallace, everybody. So, making a connection to Jefferson Davis, the president of the Confederacy. So that was 1963. So number 3, how about Christiana? Would you mind reading number 3 for us?
Okay, number 3. How does the author show faulty reasoning in paragraph 2? A. He suggests a cause and effect relationship between his election and successful factories. B. He includes irrelevant information about liquid against and the governor's mansion. C. He implies that the state can have neither liquid against or money for education and seniors. D. He suggests that voters should support his policy because they are popular. B
So
or C?
it's yes, C, right? He implies that the state can either have liquor agents or money for education and seniors, right? It's that either or. You can have this or you can have that. So that's that faulty reasoning there that he's picked. So C as in cat for number 3. And Sasha Gay, how about number 4?
The author states, today we sound the drum for freedom, as have our generations of forebears before us done. Time and time again through history, this statement most likely made his audience of supporters feel A, patriotic and proud, B, angry and betrayed, C, satisfied and optimistic, and D, disheartened and pessimistic. C.
So A, we sound the drum for freedom as our generations of forebears before us done time and time again through history. He's certainly proud, right? He is certainly proud to make a connection to the Confederacy, to Jefferson Davis. So that's his idea of patriotism and being proud by connecting Alabama in 1963 with the former Confederacy. And that's how he's appealing to the people that voted for him. Remember, this is an inaugural address, so he was voted in the office, and he's making that connection to the people that voted for him as an appeal as patriotism and pride. So 4 is A, and 5. Grace, could you read number 5 for us?
Okay. Why does the author use inflammatory language to describe the segregation laws as the tyranny that clanks its chains upon the South? A, to appeal to the audience sense of tolerance. B, to arouse the audience anger about desegregation. C, to appeal to the audience sense of shame. And D, to make the audience feel regret about segregation. A.
No, anger. So he's supporting he's supporting segregation. He's supporting keeping Jim Crow laws and things like that. So he's largely pointing out, or he's trying to arouse, he's trying to whip these people up into anger about the federal legislation, the Civil Rights Act and things that's going on in DC, for his people. Real common tactic, to arouse anger around particularly a really it should be contentious. I should say a very important. And in this case, for white Alabama voters, a contentious subject. So, COVID, if you look today at different, regulations and stuff, the way that really sparks, really high emotions with people one way or the other. And depending on what side you're on, you can appeal to those emotions. And that's what we see a lot in politics right now. That's what we see a lot, particularly with local and state governments when it comes to a response of COVID, and whether it's a vaccine mandate or mask mandates and things like that. However you feel about them, pay attention to the language that's used and the appeals to emotion, not just facts or science or data. All right, and 6. Etta, could you read question 6 for us?
Okay. It says, in paragraph 3, the author makes the implied claim that desegregated schools are not safe. Which statement best explains how the author supports the claim? A, he uses exaggeration to make desegregation seem frightening and dangerous. B, he provides facts and data to prove the dangers of desegregation. C, he tells a personal story to illustrate what could happen during desegregation. Or D, he cites an example of how desegregation caused an increase in violence. Is it A?
Yeah. Yeah, exaggerates to make desegregation seem frightening, right? He compares the streets of DC to the safe. Yeah, he was safer flying bombing mission. I don't know if he was a pilot or part of a B-29
Yeah,
group.
a B-29 bomber over Japan during the war in an air raid.
Yeah, saying that that's safer than being on the streets of Washington, D.C. So really exaggerating it. This guy is a real piece of work, man. I tell you. So, and I just want to just keep in your mind that he did get shot at one point. He did live, but you know, you can kind of keep that in mind that he did suffer a lot of pain at some point. So 7, Buy American. So I'm going to go ahead and read here. And this is from, remember we talk about our, where the information comes from and the site. So this is came from madeinusaforever.com. And the article is top 10 reasons to buy American by Todd Lipscomb in 2013. So he says, Buy American might sound like nothing more than a slogan advanced by American manufacturers to sell products made in the USA. But the truth is that there are many reasons to consider buying American-made clothing, American-made toys, and other US manufactured goods. Foreign labor standards allow unsafe conditions in many countries. When you buy American, you support not only American manufacturers, but also American workers' safe working conditions and child labor laws. Jobs shipped abroad almost never return. When you buy goods made in the USA, you help keep the American economy growing. US manufacturing processes are much cleaner for the environment than many other countries. Many brands sold here are produced in countries using dangerous, heavily polluting processes. When you purchase American-made products, you know that you're helping to keep the world a little cleaner for your children. The growing lack of USA ability to manufacture many projects is strategically unsound. When you seek out American-made goods, you foster American independence. Foreign product safety standards are low. For example, poisonous levels of lead are in tens of millions of toys shipped to the USA. When you buy toys and other goods made in the USA, you can be confident that American consumer protection laws and safety standards are in place to protect your family. And finally, as the US manufacturing ability fades, future generations of US citizens will be unable to find relevant jobs. Buy American and help keep your friends and neighbors and even yourself earning a living wage. So number 7, Tracy, can you read question 7 for us?
Yes. 7. How does the general tone of the passage support the author's claim? A. The bullying tone makes readers feel guilty about buying foreign products. B. The patriotic tone makes readers vow to buy American products. C. The threatening tone makes readers fearful to buy American products. D. The light-hearted tone makes readers think the show or product is unimportant. D.
It's B. B as in boy, the patriotic tone. So he's largely, pointing out, how that strengthens America by buying those products, either through, making sure that we can continue to, be independent of foreign countries and supplying jobs. Largely, the idea has a sort of sense of support for our country and being patriotic. Doesn't really bully people. He's not threatening them, which also, A and C are sort of similar, right? Bullying and threatening, very similar tone. Lighthearted. He's not really joking or making any comments like that. So B for number 7. And number 8, Christiana, can you read number 8 for us?
Okay, number 8. Which detail would most likely make readers fearful of buying foreign goods? A. Foreign labor standards allow unsafe worker conditions in many countries. B. U.S. manufacturing process are much cleaner for the environment than many other countries. C. Poisonous levels of lead are in tens of millions of toys shipped to the United States. D. As the U.S. manufacturing ability fades, future generation will be unable to find relevant jobs. Is it A or C?
It's C, right? Bring fear that you're poisoning your children by buying them lead-laced toys, right? That's a invoking a fearful idea there. So appealing to fear. 8 is C. 9. Sasha Gay, how about reading number 9?
The author uses an inaccurate either-or situation by suggesting that if readers do not buy American products, then A, the United States will fall behind technologically. B, readers' children will be harmed by their toys. C, conditions will never improve for foreign workers. And D, there will be far fewer jobs for Americans. Like D.
D, right? So yeah, it's either right. It kind of poses that. This is a little different because it's not just one statement, right? It's not just, he doesn't really state. It does kind of insinuate that at the end. U.S. manufacturing abilities fade. Future generations of U.S. citizens will be unable to find relevant jobs. Buy American and keep your friends and neighbors and even yourself earning a living wage. So there is a pretty strong, I guess it is a pretty strong statement. Either you continue to support U.S. manufacturing or we're all going to be poor and not have any jobs. Either or, right? That's one of those either or statements. So 9 is D. And 10, how about Etta? Can we go back to you here for number 10?
Okay, let me see. Which sentence from the passage appeals to readers' fears about the U.S. position of leadership among developed countries? A, when you buy American, you support safe working conditions and child labor laws. B, many brands sold here are produced in countries using dangerous, heavily polluting processes. C, the growing lack of American ability to manufacture products is strategically unsound. Or D, buy American and help keep your friends and neighbors and even yourself earning a living wage. D.
It's C, the growing lack of American ability, right? So it's making it, it's strategically sound to remain, to have manufacturing, that we can manufacture our goods here in the United States. That makes us less reliant on foreign countries. So, we can maintain that leadership role among developing countries as long as we maintain our manufacturing. C for cat. And oh boy, I'm just going to be, I'm just going to read all the bad stuff today, like George Wallace and this one. So you can direct your anger towards the white guy, because this is another really great one. Reasons we oppose votes for women. And fortunately, this was not written in the 20th century or later. This is from, so number 11, Nilda, was, we're on number 11. So 1 second here. It's from Some Reasons Why We Oppose Votes for Women. The National Association Opposed to Women's Suffrage. 1894. This is from one of the government websites, Document Access 2013. So yeah, just about for every rights movement, you have a movement that's opposed to it. So I'm sure this was just a bunch of great people here. So reasons we oppose votes for women. Here we go. Because the basis of government is force, its ability rests upon its physical power to enforce its laws. Therefore, it is inexpedient to give the vote to women. Immunity from service in executing the law would make most women irresponsible voters. Because it means simply doubling the vote, and especially the undesirable and corrupt vote of our large cities. Because the great advance of women in the last century, moral, intellectual, and economic, has been made without the vote, which goes to prove that it is not needed for their further advancement along the same lines. Because the ballot has not proved a cure-all for existing evils with men, and we find no reason to assume that it would be more effectual with women. Because our present duties fill up the whole measure of our time and ability, and are such as none but ourselves can perform, our appreciation of their importance requires us to protest against all efforts to infringe upon our rights by imposing upon us those obligations which cannot be separated from suffrage, but which, as we think, cannot be performed by us without the sacrifice of the highest interests of our families and of society. We do, therefore, respectfully protest against the proposed amendment to establish women's suffrage in our state. We believe that political equity will deprive us of special privileges hitherto accorded to us by law. Wow. So 11. Grace, could you read number 11 for us?
Okay. In paragraph 3, the author states that because women have advanced morally, intellectually, and economically without suffrage, it goes to prove that suffrage is not needed for their further advancements along the same line. Why does this statement represent faulty reason? A, women do not want the vote in order to advance morally, intellectually, and economically. B, the author bases the claim on the threatening language rather than facts and information. C, the author does not acknowledge the viewpoint that women or the United States could benefit from women's right to vote. And D, women cannot vote, so it is impossible to know what would change if they could. B.
D, yeah, women cannot vote, so it's impossible to know how, right? So they're making the case, it's like, well, women have done pretty good, and they've advanced morally and economically and all this stuff. So why do we need to give them the vote too? But we also, it's like, well, what else might change? How much better may their situation be if we give them the vote? It's it's just one of those things. It's like, well, they're doing well enough. So, why do we need to bother with this? That's largely what it's saying there. So 11 is D. Really fun readings today. And then 12 is, let's go to Tracy for number 12. You read 12 for us.
Yes. Why is the author's statement that the ballot has not proved the killer on for existing evils with men. An example for faulty reasoning. A. The author suggests that the effects on men's suffrage are relevant to women's suffrage. B. The author used words such as evil to make reader feel the resource of the women's suffrage. C. The author appeals to the reader need to fit in with those considered moral and admirable. Did the author suggest a false cause and effect relationship between suffrage and immorality? The Bible. C.
A, pointing out one, that's kind of just faulty logic, right? This idea, it's like, well, the fact that men can vote hasn't changed everything for men. But that's not really relevant to the case of the vote for women. It's a separate issue that's involved there. So yeah, the author's suggesting that men's suffrage is relevant somehow. Not necessarily, right? It's two different issues. And regardless of, what it has done for men or what it has not done for men. So A for number 12. And then 13, Christiana, how about finishing off our workbook here, 13?
Number 13, which statement best explain why the evidence in this passage is faulty? A, the author rely on personal stories rather than fact and statistics. B, the author does not address specific reasons that women might want suffrage. C, the author includes testimonial from celebrities in order to persuade readers. D, the author used patriotic language to inspire readers to oppose suffrage. Is it D?
It's B. The author doesn't really address specific reasons. Right, so this is one of those one-sided arguments that we mentioned, or not addressing the argument of the other side. So, that a lot of the argument there was like, well, if we're citizens, if we're equal citizens, then we deserve the right to vote, which has already been established by, the Constitution. So, that there's no discussion of that here. It's like, they don't refute that idea at all. They bring up other points, and it's largely about how it affects them, right? And I'm assuming that these are all men, how it is affecting them and not necessarily how it affects women. So yeah, 13 is B. Author does not address specific reasons that women would want to vote, which would, help refute help with his claim if he could refute those. All right, and that is everything for today. So anybody need me to follow up? Number 3. Number 3 is C.
Number 5 and 6, please.
Okay, 5 was B as in boy. 6 was A.
Thank you.
Okay, and let's see, 11 and 12. 11 was D as in dog. And 12 is A. How are we doing? Everybody got everything? So really, important as far as thinking about, evaluating what you read, asking these, types of questions. That table, I think, is really good at outlining, some major, the most common examples of faulty reasoning and faulty evidence that you encounter. The either or statements and appeals to emotion or the use of celebrity and things like that. So I'll make sure to post that in Google Classroom too, so you can continue to reference that. That's good information to have. All right. Any questions on language arts today, faulty evidence, or identifying evidence in social studies? Hopefully that's all making sense. All right, so we are finished for today. So I will see you guys tomorrow for some more social studies and language arts. Okay.
Okay.
All right, y'all have a good afternoon.
You too.